as we kick off the summer months. And tonight we start our week of shows here with our monthly sit-down chat with the athletic director for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Bill Moos. Bill, great to have you with us. Hope you had a chance to enjoy yourself a little bit over the last couple days.
Well, I did, and you're right. The weather was a little challenging, but hey, that's okay. Seems like we're just going to kind of slide into summer and maybe skip spring.
Yeah, they're talking about temperatures in the upper 80s in a week. So yeah, that's exactly what's gonna happen. Well, I'm glad we have you on tonight because last week I thought was kind of a turn the corner moment for a lot of us because we finally got some positive news. The NCAA lifting the moratorium on voluntary workouts starting the 1st of June, and it sounds like you and the Huskers are raring to go on that June 1st date. Give us the latest. Update us on what some of the things that have been popping here in the last 6-7 days.
Yeah, things are starting to loosen up a little bit, and so much of it, Greg, is dependent on the local situations, and of course, being here in Lincoln, we have that going for us, where we're not a real hotbed for COVID-19. We have wide open spaces, and that's why so many of us love it here. But in this particular situation, our governor and our president and chancellor were relaxing the restrictions a bit, enabling us to come in on the 1st of June to start voluntary workouts, as you mentioned. Now, we were all ready to do that to some degree before the campus was locked down. And I was taking the stance with the Big Ten that the safest place for our student athletes is Lincoln, Nebraska, and the safest place in Lincoln is to be in our facilities. So we're going to be able to achieve that here shortly, and we will have some of our student athletes here already, about 150 to 175. We're going to concentrate on football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and soccer to begin with, and then start to fold some of the others in after that. So really excited about that. My people have done a tremendous job administratively. Coaches have been fabulous, and we have a protocol all in place to start bringing them in, more of them in, testing, quarantining, and getting back to somewhat of a normal situation.
Yeah, you talked about those protocols that, you want to be sure everybody when they get here is healthy enough to work out so they don't infect anybody else. I'm sure it's going to be massive cleaning every day, a couple times a day to make sure these student athletes stay healthy. And I know you and your staff have had hours upon hours of meetings about the best way to do this, and I think it's a tribute to you and your staff that you guys are ready to hit the ground running here in less than a week. It's been a yeoman's effort, I'm sure, on the part of the athletic department staff.
Well, the protocol is very strict. We wrote it ourselves, and it is actually the model that is being copied, and we're glad of that with peer institutions in the conference. So we've had wonderful partnership with our medical school, UNMC in Omaha, in regards to the testing. Their virologists and others, Dr. Cradaville, who's really been a very important individual, not just for us here at Nebraska, but in the Big Ten as well. He's really the spokesperson for all of this in regards to the medical piece. So as we bring them in, we quarantine them for the student athletes for 2 days, 48 hours, and then test them. We can only work out in a voluntary manner. Nobody is required to be back here. Nobody's required to work out. And when we do, as per the mandate of the governor, we have to be in groups of 10 or less, and that includes the supervisors that are in the weight room or on the fields that are working with these young people. So lots of details to it, and again, I applaud my people and all of our coaches and such that have really helped us.
Bill, you mentioned the governor is relaxing some rules and restrictions come June 1st. It marries up with the NCAA ruling. Can you talk about the relationship that the athletic department, that the university has had with state officials through all that? We've been talking about once a week with Ted Carter, who's been magnificent, and I think has been one of the forefront people in the country with what he's doing with the University of Nebraska right now. But just talk about how much the communications have been going back and forth with your office, the president's office, and even up to the governor.
Well, there's a line there. We're doing most of our communication with the chancellor's office, who is in conversation with President Carter, who of course is in conversation with the governor. So the communication's been very good, very transparent, but we just make sure that in UNL that our primary communication is with Chancellor Green and his staff, and that has gone very, very well. My chief of staff has been on a daily communication with the Chancellor's chief of staff. Our communications person in charge of communications on my staff has been in charge of his counterpart on the Chancellor's staff. So it's all been very well thought out, and the communication lines have been outstanding.
Yeah, I'm busy with Bill Moos. It's our monthly athletic director's show here on Sports Nightly. Last month when we had you on, Bill, you said you were having daily calls with your counterparts throughout the Big Ten. A new commissioner taking over the role back at the first of the year. I mean, this is all dropped on his lap in his first 6 months on the job. What has that been like for you over the last couple of months?
Well, that has been good, and really when you stop to think about it, it's quite remarkable because our president, Ted Carter, this is his first presidency of a public institution, and Kevin Warren, his first stint as a commissioner in involvement in college athletics. So they had to hit the ground running and didn't have much of a grace period or a honeymoon because this is uncharted waters. In both cases, they've done incredible jobs and have really shown their leadership skills. In regards to our communication within the Big Ten, yes, we continue to have daily calls, 7:45 Central Time. Today's was only 30 minutes. Usually they're about an hour. We have had them last as long as 2 hours. All kinds of things discussed, and in cost containment measures that we are going to implement that will help all of our various and individual institutions, and of course all of the discussion about return to campus, return to play, the volunteer activities, when will the required activities or organized activities, and then you get on into when can we start to prepare for the fall seasons, which all these things some of we have accomplished, some we're still working on. And I think I said it before, Greg, but I always try to find something positive and a little bit of lemonade out of things, and it has really been the best communication I've ever had in a conference because we've been forced to. We're most of us on those calls from our homes. We have again new challenges that we have not had to face. We're drawing off each other's thoughts and plans and suggestions, and really getting to know and to bond with my colleagues in the Big Ten, as well as all the people in the Big Ten staff. So, of which I would say we have 15 or 20 staff members on those phone calls.
Bill, I'm sure people are screaming at me to say, ask him, am I going to be able to see the Huskers play at Memorial Stadium this fall? So let me just throw that out. How optimistic are you that some form of fans are going to be able to watch college football this fall in that great stadium?
Well, I'm optimistic. I continue to think that there's a good chance it could be football as we remember it. But at the same time, if we can't get our arms around this virus and get it to level out to where the concerns of the fans, but also the student athletes, and what is safe for those people, and if that is still in question, the season could look different than we've experienced in the past. We just aren't quite there yet. We just don't know. As our backs get closer to the wall, we're going to have to make some decisions along those lines, whether to reduce the number of games, maybe move the entire season back, what our lead-up time should be. And so many of us missed out in spring football practices. We had 2 out of 15, and a lot of our peers are in the same boat. Some had a few more, but I'm hopeful that it'll look like it has, but not sure. And then there's the local authorities, and we talked about Governor Ricketts and President Carter and Chancellor Green, and what the decisions are going to be on what the capacity can be in Memorial Stadium and in the Devaney Center. You know, we're not just talking about football. We've been sold out in volleyball for years and years and years, and neither one of those are really ideal social distancing venues the way our great fans pack a stadium and an arena. So you know, we may have to reduce the size of our crowds, and our staff is working diligently in that regard. How do you manage that? What is the right number? How do you space folks? How do you get them in to the facilities? How do you get them out? You got restrooms, concessions, masks, no masks. All these questions have got to have solid answers before we can go forward.
Yeah, no doubt. The good news is we still have more than 3 months before there will be a contest at Memorial Stadium. Bill Moos is with us for the hour. It's our May edition of the Nebraska Athletic Directors Show. 866-HUSKER-1, 866-487-5371. The number if you want to be a part of this one. You can dial us up on our Sports Nightly hotline, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. More with Bill coming up next. Welcome back to our Athletic Directors Show for the month of May, brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family. Shop Woodhouse first, 18 brands, 18 locations, one team to help you get on the road faster. Woodhouse Auto Family, the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. 866-HUSKER-1, 866-487-5371. That number if you want to be a part of the program tonight. You mentioned your coaches have been good. Bill, I got to imagine they're a little bit like caged animals right now, particularly your football staff, who only got 2 of the spring practices in, usually during the month of May. They're crisscrossing the country to recruit. Your coaches have to be just ready to come leaping out of their houses and get to work here.
Well, that's the competitive nature of all of them. We got great coaches, and they want to get after it. They're in the profession to coach, and they want to coach. And we certainly, and especially I am very sensitive to that. And they also obviously are uppermost concerned about the safety and well-being of their student athletes. But we do need to be patient. We need to fold these things back in the proper manner, really emphasizing in the first wave those that are going to be competing in the fall, along with the 2 basketball programs. But hopefully we'll be able to get the rest of them in some fashion or such. And then, of course, Greg, we've got summer school, we've got our summer bridge program, and all these things that are being done remotely. However, as they start to come back, though they're taking their classes on their computers and such, we have to make sure that they're in a safe environment and all of that before we're going to be comfortable allowing them to start their workouts and everything. So coaches are They're chomping at the bit, and we will have a meeting with them on Thursday just to, again, answer questions. I think our communication plan has been very good throughout all of this. But again, now that we're starting to get some relief, things are loosening up, we want to make sure that they get their questions answered and they understand fully what the protocol is.
Very good. Well, we got some folks ready to talk to you tonight, so let's get to the phones. Let's start up in Omaha first with Mike. Good evening, Mike. You're up with Bill Moos.
Well, thank you very much. First, I'd like to say you've done an excellent job, Bill. I appreciate what you're doing for the state. I'd like to, on name, image, and likeness, I'd like to point out one thing. I don't know what it says in the bill or what the NC2A will do, but there are several states like Florida and Texas that have no state income tax, and that will be an advantage in recruiting for those states. So very possibly something can be done to the bill in Nebraska to make it exempt from state income tax.
Mike,
Well,
appreciate it. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That's
Thank you.
That's a good point. And the name, image, and likeness had been the premier topic in intercollegiate athletics until this coronavirus came into place. But we are still discussing it and what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. And we're not completely there yet. But I remind our listeners that the number of student athletes that may be involved in all of this will not be massive. And we want to, of course, make sure that we incorporate in what we're doing, teaching, providing, and making sure that our student athletes have all the tools to market themselves and to do it in the right manner. But your point is well made. There will be income tax. There will be federal income tax. There will be advantages at some schools that some others may not have along those lines, and it all has to be considered when we look at trying to get a level playing field in regards to the competitive piece.
Let's go from Omaha to Oakdale. Ron, you're up with Bill Moos. Good evening.
Yes, I'd like to know what would happen with the sellout record and this and that.
Well, the sellout streak is alive and well. If we are told, for example, we can only have 30,000 in Memorial Stadium and we get 30,000, that's a sellout. If there are no limits and we can fill it, I've said this publicly this past week. There is no place like Nebraska, and there are no fans like Nebraska fans. And I would guess that the sellout streak would continue. And remember, we have had games where we've been 10 or 20,000 less in attendance, but the seats have been sold. And it's my feeling that the pride that our Nebraska fans have in that sellout streak that, as you know, dates back to 1962 and Bob Devaney's first year will be preserved. And I have no doubts in my mind, just having gotten to know and appreciate our fans.
Bill, any idea yet if you have to limit the crowd, how you're going to do that, or is that still in the works with your ticket office folks?
That's in the works. First of all, our hope is we have 7 home games. Maybe there will be a variety of formulas that we'll look at, but again, and we'll be prepared. But I'm hoping that isn't something that we have to do. And personally, I don't feel that that's a conference rule or an NC2A rule. I think that's a institutional policy. And if we feel here in Nebraska, just like I've felt all along, that it's the best place for our student athletes and the safest, and we feel that our fans fully know the risks, if there are any, of attending our events, and they're fine with that. They ought to be able to come and enjoy Nebraska football and volleyball and all of our sports. I think that's in many respects some therapy that we could really use. And again, we're very concerned about the safety and such of our fans, but if we feel, and our university and state authorities feel that it's safe, then I feel that we should go the max of whatever's allowable, and that will preserve the sellout.
Bill Moos is with us. It's a monthly sit-down chat here on the Husker Sports Network. 866-HUSKER-1, 866-487-5371 if you want to be a part of the program tonight. Dorothy Lynch, Homestyle Dressing and Condiment. It's the one-of-a-kind taste that goes with anything. Good for game day or any day. Dorothy Lynch, endless flavorabilities. Back with more of the athletic director for the University of Nebraska coming up next. It's our Woodhouse Auto Family Athletic Directors Show for the month of May. Shop Woodhouse first. 18 brands, 18 locations, one team to help you get on the road faster. Woodhouse Auto Family, it's the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Phone lines are open for you. 866-HUSKER-1, 866-487-5371. Bill, I'm sure you're like me. You miss seeing our fans. The spring game didn't happen. That's a big touch point to see a bunch of your boosters and backers. The spring sports get wiped out. Have you had much communication with some of the supporters for the university during this pandemic?
Yeah, our staff, again, has done a real good job of staying in touch with the majority of our donors. I've had myself 2 Zoom meetings, some as many as 1,000 key donors. And we've had various coaches do the same, again, organized through our development areas. So they have been wonderful. Our level of support has not taken a dip. The gifts that have been verbally pledged for the facility, the Go Big project has been solid. I can't say enough about these great people that they've stood by us. They know that's not our fault. We're all in this together, and they continue to realize how important they are for us to be as successful as we have been through the years.
You mentioned the Go Big project. That's still a go, right? You're just maybe delaying the beginning of this?
Yeah, we're wrapping up design, and Greg, it is really impressive. We're having to address some of the financial pieces, because anytime you do these, it's like building a house. You're going to have to scale back in some areas to come in on budget, but we're in the process of doing that. It's working out very, very well, but when we do get that complete, and that should be done here in the next week or two, then we're going to pause until we feel comfortable, the chancellor and president, to go forward, and I know the regents will be involved in this too. But we will be set. We'll be on the launching pad and ready. As you're aware, our contractors are all selected. The schedule is in place. It's just when do we get into the starting blocks?
Very good. Let's go back to the phones. Up to Omaha. Mike, you're up next with Bill Moos.
Hey, Bill. I got a question about transfers and their eligibility.
Okay.
Did we lose Mike? I know that the NCAA...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. We lost you there for a minute.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hearing feedback. That's the thing. But my favorite Cornhusker in any sport is transferring, and within the conference, and that's Leah Brown in the basketball team. I still can't believe this is happening, but is she eligible to play next year because she's going to Michigan?
Now,
yeah.
Did you catch that, Greg?
Yeah, he said his favorite Husker is Leah Brown, who played for Amy Williams' basketball squad. She's going to transfer within the conference. What is the update on transferring without having to sit out at all?
Well, the whole push for reform with the transfer piece has been delayed, and it's my understanding will be delayed until January, when hopefully we're going to gather for the NC2A convention. So rules that have been in place remain in place, and those sports that need to sit a year are going to have to continue to do that until the reform piece is put in place, if indeed it does.
Have you changed your mind some on this, Bill? I mean, you and I have talked about this topic for a couple of years now, and because I think I have a little bit. I think I've softened my stance. I was not for this initially, but now I see some merit in having this happen.
Well, I was very strictly opposed to it, Greg, myself, and I've come around to a one-time transfer being acceptable, and I believe that they should be able to compete right away in all sports, consistent in all sports. And I say this because sometimes there's a coaching change. A student athlete may have chosen the school because he or she really felt their talents fit a certain coach in a certain style. I know people like to say, well, you chose the school and not the coach, and that's really great to say, but that's not always the case. And sometimes maybe a quarterback is recruited and sees that they're not going to get much playing time, and maybe would be better fitted at a different place. And when the dust all settles, we're really in this for the student athlete and their experience. But what I am not in favor of is having opportunity to do that without penalty multiple times. Okay, maybe this wasn't the right decision that I should have made. I'm going to get a mulligan, but that's going to be it. Otherwise, if there's a second, third, or fourth time, the penalty will be applied.
Very good. Well, since we last spoke, we had a big graduation ceremony a few weeks ago. I think the number was 66 student athletes picked up their diploma, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what this is about. Get these student athletes on campus, work them toward a degree, and then let them get out and be productive citizens wherever they end up landing. But that was a big moment, and I know it was done differently this year, but it seemed to be pretty effective.
Well, graduation is what we're all about, an opportunity to get a degree at a great institution like the University of Nebraska and enjoy the experience of being a student and being a student athlete. But those trophies, awards, and memories are wonderful, but it's that education that's going to take care of these young people for the rest of their lives. And we emphasize that. I don't think anybody does it better than us. We talk about sellout streaks. We also have a pretty impressive nation-leading academic All-American list, 72 ahead of second place as I last checked it out. And our graduation rates, our APRs, our grade point average in excess of a 3-point for over 600 student athletes. That's all amazing. But you're right, we had 66 graduate this spring, student athletes. 23 states is where they came from. So it's covering roughly half the nation. 17 native Nebraskans, and we had 3 foreign student athletes that graduated as well. So thrilled for them, and again, they're equipped, well equipped, and ready to go out and tackle the world.
I watched the stream. I thought it was really well done. And your volleyball coach, John Cook, gave the commencement address, and I'm sure you're not surprised he knocked it out of the park.
Well, he's inspirational. There's a reason he wins national championships, and part of it is his command of getting people motivated. And that's what a commencement speaker should be all about. Hey, you've gotten to this point. You've worked hard. What are you going to do with it? And are you going to continue to utilize those traits that got you to this point and develop them and continue to refine them on into your professional career? And I can't think of anybody who can lead by example better than John Cook, and anyone who has proven on his record that his formula works.
Yeah, it was terrific. We played it back the next Monday here on Sports Nightly. Bill Moos is with us for a few more minutes. 866-HUSKER 1, 866-487-5371. If you want to dial us up on our Sports Nightly hotline, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Back with some final thoughts from Bill next. Our show for the month of May with Bill Moos, brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family. Shop Woodhouse first. 18 brands, 18 locations, one team to help you get on the road faster. Woodhouse Auto Family, the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. A few minutes left here in this month's show. Probably won't be a typical June and July for you or the staff, I would gather, Bill, with all the changes that we've had the last 2 months, and now having some facilities open back up for you beginning next Monday.
Yeah, the summer, of course, we usually are welcoming so many students back, student athletes in our case, and because of the decisions that have been made, that will look a lot like it did, but around campus it won't look as it has in the past in the summers. But we got a lot of work to do. We talked about it a lot in the hour show, Greg, that we need to be prepared for a number of different scenarios that we just don't know what they're going to be now. But we will be ready. My staff will be set. Our student athletes will be trained and ready to compete. It's just a matter of when they can. So, the spring did not resemble any I've ever seen as long as I've been in the business, and the summer won't either. And I'm just hoping that as we get into the fall, it does start to resemble what we've been used to through the years.
The Chancellor announced a few weeks ago that the parts of the campus will start to reopen on June 1st. How about you and your staff? I know you all have been working remotely, or do you have plans to kind of get back to North Stadium at some point in time?
Yeah, we'll start bringing some staff in. Some we want to be very careful again. Some are not comfortable with it yet, and we have some that might be at risk health-wise, age-wise, those kind of things that we want to be sensitive to. The chancellors pointed out very strictly that no more than 1/3 of the staff at any one time. But we've been discussing, we did today and we will again tomorrow, who on our staff do we feel that it is really important for us to have in the building, at least for part of a day or part of a week. And then we'll start to phase that in and see where we go throughout the month of June, and maybe get some of those restrictions lifted going into July and August.
Well, you seem energized and ready for the fight. Part of me thinks you might rather be out on the ranch right now, but this is certainly unprecedented times that we're all dealing with here in 2020.
It is, Greg, and hey, always good to visit with you and have a chance to talk to our fans. You stay healthy and go Big Red.
Very good. Bill Moos with us here, his monthly show during the month of May. Finally, some news we can talk about bringing people back onto campus starting on June the 1st. The Huskers are going to have members of the football team, men's and women's basketball team, volleyball team, and soccer team starting to work their way back on campus beginning next Monday to do some voluntary workouts. A good hour here on Sports Nightly. Again, our Athletic Director show brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family here on Sports Nightly.